Brand new topic. Haven't talked about it before. We talk about environmental design, but how your body is your barometer and your physical environment and your body's physical environment is your best tilt on how to use it to get success, bring things in, and more. It's a 13-minute episode, 10 minutes of meat, 3 minutes of housekeeping. I love you. Here's the show. All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of The Mind of Giorgio from a snowy day in Montana. And as we're keeping with the fashion, we're getting right into the meat. And I want to spend 5 to 10 minutes talking about your physical body in relationship to environmental design. And so I'm on this environmental design kick, not because it's this new thing, but a lot of people have been asking me and seeing massive changes in their life and their business by utilizing the power of their environment, right? And so when I talk about this, right, our conscious thoughts account for maybe 5% of our behaviors because when we're present, we're making them, but then around us, our environment, our work, our laptop, our computer, our friends, our businesses, our meetings, a lot of those environments have anchors and things in there that trigger other behaviors from us that trigger subconscious behaviors, right? And it's interesting because a lot of the times those triggers behave us away from what we want to do, right? But environmental design is important. It's massively important. And so when I talk to people about this, I tell them, like, when you get clarity on something, right? Like, I want to be a runner or I want to lose 10 pounds. And you're like, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go work out. I'm going to go walk. That's amazing. But that's only using 1% of the clarity to your benefit. If you think about your environment around you, your internal environment, your external environment, and your digital environment, and then you utilize those things effectively, and you make them in association to that of a runner or somebody in that way, it will help keep you in progress in momentum. But I was on a podcast and I had an interview on the show with an incredible man who had a back injury, came through yoga, and we were talking about it. And I had like 30 of you DM me and ask me to talk about the physical body when it comes to environmental design, right? And so I think this is really, really important. And I'm going to set the context here. We're like, this isn't woo-woo, even though I am pretty woo-woo, and I guess it could be woo-woo, but it's also backed in so much science and so much clarity and so much understanding of things that we have. But the easiest way to put this is like our body doesn't lie to us. And an example I will give you is like if you're ever sitting there in your car, pull into your driveway, and you're thinking about a challenge or even something positive in your life or in your business, and you get you get hit with this feeling in your gut, right? Like the pit in your gut, that feeling in your stomach, and you're like, oh my God, my body's telling me something, right? Well, in the lens of our life and in our business, we only lose when we ignore those check engine lights. And I feel like in most of my life, I lost because I thought ignoring the check engine lights was the path because I didn't have the capacity, didn't know how to fix them. But I realized that the breakthrough wasn't in avoiding the check engine lights. The breakthrough was in diagnosing them and not necessarily taking an action on them. And so meaning that like when I'm sitting there in the car and I'm having a thought about that client or that business or that new model or that course I don't know how to sell or what I'm going to talk about on that podcast, and I get this feeling in my body, what my body is saying is something in there is requiring my attention. It's like screaming like a triage nurse, right? I think about them like check engine codes in your car. We only lose when we don't diagnose the code, because if we're driving our car and the check engine light comes on and we ignore it and we keep driving, the car might break down or tire pressure might be low or our windshield fluid might be out, but we don't know. But if we take a peek at it and it's like, oh, your windshield wiper is low, you're like, oh, I'll keep driving. I don't need that. But if it's like, oh, your engine oil is low, you need to pull over so you don't seize your engine, and you ignore it, well, then you're going to permanently break, right? And so our physical bodies don't lie to us. And you can go read study after study after study. You can go through EMDR, which is eye movement desensitization reprocessing, which is an incredible modality for healing where they teach you about this. You have Louise Hay's Heal Your Body, Heal Your Life. You have the gene codes. You have all of these different things, but our bodies are the best thing we have. And for me, I'm going to go straight to the heart for a minute. And I'm going to use F1, like professional F1 race car driving as an example. You get issued one F1 car, and your one F1 car is literally worth the same price as these F1 cars that are like $20 million, and you get one. You can't replace it. You can't replace the engine. You can put parts on. You can bolt them on. But as Sadhguru said in an interview with Mike Tyson, is we get issued this body, but we never take the time to open up the owner's manual and understand what's happening inside of it. And for me, when I think about a lot of my life and a lot of my breakdowns and a lot of my challenges that I used to face, what's really interesting is that in the lens of all those breakdowns and challenges and ignoring my body and ignoring the signals, the end state that I would always end up at would be facing the feeling and having to go through it eventually. But the amount of pain that I caused by avoiding it and avoiding my body and my emotions and my feelings got in the way and caused permanent damage that was hard to recover from, right? And so no matter what, it's up to us. And I say our bodies don't lie. They let us know when we're out of alignment. They let us know when something doesn't feel good. But it doesn't mean that we have to react to it or necessarily respond to it, but we have to acknowledge its existence, right? And I've said this quote on the podcast numerous times, and it lands every time I say it. And Mike Tyson said, "The magic you're looking for is in the work you won't do." And I love that quote. It landed for me for so long. But then I adjusted it and I said, "The magic I'm looking for is in the work I won't do and the feelings I won't feel." And I was just afraid to feel my feelings. I was afraid to admit that I was scared or admit that I was afraid. But then the moment I would sit there and be like, "God, I am afraid," on the other side of it would come ideas and clarity, right? And that's the big breakthrough here. I genuinely believe our bodies don't lie to us. We all know what we're talking about. You've been in a room, you've gone to an event, so excited to be there because their energy was amazing online. Then you get in the room and you're like, this doesn't feel good and you don't want to be there anymore. And then if you think about any time where you ignored that, it probably didn't lead to a positive consequence or a positive benefit. It led to a negative consequence. But then you think about the times that you honored that. And it doesn't necessarily mean that somebody's bad or wrong. It means that in that moment, your body doesn't feel in alignment and it's not a conducive environment for you to win. And so you would have to acknowledge that so you could either make it conducive or remove yourself and go focus somewhere different. But I think we all need to understand that our physical bodies, like, and that's an aggressive thing for me to say, like, that we all need to understand, but I genuinely believe this. I've been through so many physical injuries and was told I'd never walk again and I'd never be able to think right from the brain injuries and boom, boom, boom. And all these doctors and everybody told me all of these things. And then I just listened to my body and I trusted it. And I was like, oh, it wants to do this. It doesn't want to do this. I'll try that. I'll go here. And being in my physical body also allowed me to relearn how to navigate my emotions and be in those. And like people asking me all the time, like, George, when you're speaking and you stop us and you like get radically honest in that moment to the point where we're like, we have almost emotions for you. What's happening? I'm like, well, my physical body felt out of alignment. And so I'm just cleaning it up in front of you because it makes me feel present. It makes me back in my power. And it's really, really my truth. But if we take our life and we ignore our bodies, we ignore the signals that it's giving us, or we fall into the death trap of like, oh, I'll take care of my body when I get the business, when I sell the business, when I get the clients, we're never going to get there. And we're actually sacrificing the race car that's driving the race. And so you have to treat it like a race car, which means you have to take care of it every day. You don't have to like abuse it, but you have to check in with it. You have to know how it feels. You got to give it nutrients. You got to give it space. You have to move it. And then if you're driving it and you press the gas pedal and it doesn't work so much, and you're like, oh, maybe it needs some gas. You need to make some adjustments, but your physical body will never lie. And so this episode today is just an invitation to start exploring it in whatever way that looks like for you, right? To start to build a relationship with it, to start to utilize these triggers and these signals that we get to bring things back into alignment or to help us find the path, right? And I say this, it's like, when these things come up, and I just recorded a podcast before this on triggers versus glimmers, it's so much in association. It's the same thing that if I'm sitting there and my body is triggered and I'm like, God, I have this pit in my stomach every time I think about that podcast. If I don't sit down and pause and be like, oh, what is it in the podcast? I'm never going to find clarity. And that's just an open loop that like burns at my brain and takes my mental energy and my capacity. But the moment I pause and explore it, it might not bring me perfect clarity, but it will make a step in that direction and allow me to adjust. And so I think we forget that our bodies are the best path to self-regulation, because if we fast forward the path 30 years when we're retired or you've made millions of dollars or you're just living with your family, you're still going to be there just in a relationship with yourself with those same check engine lights, navigating them, and they're really the path to get there. So when you think about your environment, your first environment is you. It's your actual physical body and its environment. and utilizing it, honoring it, and respecting it. But once you have that, then you work on your internal environment, which is your home, your nesting space. And then you apply that same clarity to your external environment, your work, your office, your boom, and then your digital environment, and everything is in conducive and supportiveness to keep your F1 car on the track and on the race and moving forward. And so your body is your best friend. Your body is your barometer. Your body is your triage nurse, and it won't lie to us. If it's in pain, if it hurts, if it's achy, address it. Don't overtrain it. Go back to the basics, but understand that all of these parts are important. We need to be physically healthy to be able to execute our business, to have the energy, to the capacity to do what we want. And it just so happens that in the process of that healthy physical body, we get to build our relationship with our emotions in it, and they work conducively together to help us operate. And so utilize your body as your best friend. You know it. You know it better than anybody. You know the feelings, you know the emotions. And so just give yourself space to explore them, and you can use your environment to your benefit. And so that's what I want to talk about today. And I'm actually really excited because as soon as I wrap this in, I don't know, 2 minutes, I'm going to run a call for 90 minutes in the Alliance, and we are doing a full environmental design audit of the physical environment, internal, external, and digital, and then using it in our benefit. And so if you want to come into the Alliance, we would love to have you. It is rocking and rolling, and it is magical. It's about 100 people, all winning, all supporting each other. We're working on our mindset. We're working on our body. We're working on our business. We're working on our states of being. The entire entry point is designed to give you the core models, the wedge of expectations, the quadrants, and the SOS for your goals and clarity. And then there's a track for you to follow at your own pace to get clarity in your goals, build your perfect calendar, set your vision, reverse engineer it, and then put the plan in place. And then you have all of us supporting you and walking it. And we're teaching environmental design today. So I'm really, really excited about it. So if you haven't joined the Alliance and you're like, holy moly, I didn't even know, and I want in, I promise you, one call is worth its weight in admission for the year, and it's only $100 a month. We literally genuinely want to give you these models. We want to run next door to you, and it is, quite frankly, for me, my test kitchen. And it's so inspiring because being in with you has inspired me in my business and changed my clarity. And so that's how we win together. And environmental design is a big part of it. And so regardless of whether you come in or whether this landed, just take a peek at your environment. Figure out if you can create space or an adjustment in your environment, and use your physical body to have some tools to be able to explore what those are and then work in your benefit. And I promise you, it can only work, because at the end of the day, no matter which way we slice it, this is the one person that we're guaranteed to have a relationship with for the rest of our lives. So the better we know it, the better we honor it, the better we listen to it and make adjustments with it, the better off we all are to win. So that's what I got in today's episode. I love you. I don't think we have outros on these anymore. So just a couple of quick reminders. If you want the Alliance, just shoot me a DM on Instagram that says Alliance. I love you to pieces. Keep doing this work. Keep showing up. Keep being consistent. And remember that this is about consistency and integration, right? Pick up a piece, integrate it, come back to the podcast. Pick up another piece, integrate it, come back to the podcast, and keep making progress. And that's how we win together. So I love you. If you just found me and you haven't heard me before, go to Spotify or to YouTube and watch the channel trailer to see how crazy and loco I am. But I love my slice of crazy, and it's pink. I hope you guys have an absolutely beautiful day. I will see you in the next episode. I would love to hear from you. I mean it. I'm just going to start being radically aggressive with this. I'm a words of affirmation guy. And in my human design, it's required to hear from people to be excited or prompt or help back. So very selfishly, when you DM me breakthroughs from the podcast or share clips of the podcast or tell me what landed, it actually helps me make them better for you and gets me excited and then brings me clarity and I help you. So I'm genuinely asking, if you feel it in your heart, please let us know. Please send us messages. It fills my bucket and it helps me adjust the content and even make it more tailored and specific to you. So I'm going to wrap the show. It was 10 minutes of meat, 3 minutes of fluff. 13's my favorite number. I love you. I will see you in the next episode. No matter what, remember that relationships beat algorithms. So I have to finish my line. I'll either see you in the next episode or I will hear you in your earballs. But now it's time to go talk about environmental design in the Alliance. Bye-bye.